What's going on, everyone? Welcome to the No Excuses Podcast, episode 2. Guys, I'm so happy to be here with you guys today, man, to ready to share my knowledge and wisdom with you. And hopefully you could take a lot from this episode. This episode is very deep. And so take notes and get ready, man, for a badass episode. Boom, let's go. All right, guys. So today's episode is going to be about death. This is a very sensitive subject. It's a taboo subject. It's a subject that people love to avoid. People hate talking about death. People, from the beginning of time, try to put it on the sidelines and just stay away from it. But guys, to me, actually, death is the complete opposite. For first thing, we're going to talk about a little bit about my past and how death has affected me and how it's been part of my life and where I'm going with this. So first thing, guys, growing up in Israel, man, like obviously you guys know, like Israel all the time, there's like on and off war, and so there's a higher state of alertness that at any given moment shit can go down and things can turn out bad and people can pass away. So that's always been on the back of my mind and always been to keep myself active, to keep myself my eyes open, keep myself like living in the moment because at any moment things can happen. So we're gonna start with that. But then when I would go home, my parents, they had this thing where they would never talk about death. They hate talking about death, and if you talked about death, like it was forbidden, because they said it would just bring bad luck, and it was bad to talk about it, and God forbid you should talk about anything like that. It's just gonna create only like you're gonna bring bad energy towards you or towards somebody that you love. You're gonna bring like bad juju. So you can never talk about like, hey, if I die or if so and so dies, like you basically spoke death into existence. So growing up in my household, we could never talk about it, and it was forbidding, and you just kept it to the side. Fast forward, my dad gets sick with cancer. So, guys, those of you guys that don't know, um, I lost both of my parents to cancer, but my father was a tough man, like super tough, physically, mentally, emotionally. And I looked at him like he was like Superman. And I could never imagine him like dying. I could never imagine him not being here, like he was just such a strong figure. So while he was battling cancer, we always thought that, he was going to beat it, through chemotherapy and all the treatments and advancements that he was going to end up beating it. Well, long story short, he ended up passing away. This will be a different episode for a different day, but he ended up passing away. And basically, the first person that I lost in my life was the closest person to me was my father. And guys, so like you always hear about people dying, and as long as that they're not close to you, it's kind of like, oh, okay, man, I feel bad for so and so who lost whoever. But you just kind of go about your day and keep on moving. You know what I mean? Dealing with your own shit and your own life, your own ups and downs. But when I lost my dad, I was like, man, death is fucking real. And death is unavoidable. Like, no matter how strong you are, no matter how fit you are, no matter how much of a badass you are, no matter how much you take care of yourself or don't take care of yourself, like, death is coming for everybody. And I remember everybody being so sad and going through like such a hard time with it, including myself. But what I was trying to do is I was trying to figure out this thing about death. Like, what is it? Like, why are we always trying to avoid it? And then I realized, and this is what this whole episode is about, is that the more you avoid death, the more you avoid life. Guys, I can't tell you that any more specific. The more you avoid dying, like being scared to die, the more you avoid life. Okay, the less chance you have of living. Fast forward, my mom gets sick many years later, and same thing, she passes away. And I remember, like all my family members were taking it so hard, but I didn't take it so hard. I was very heartbroken, but I didn't take it as hard as they did. And I remember while she was fighting with the chemo, with the disease, my brothers wanted to like keep her alive no matter what, while she was struggling really bad, like her quality of life was zero. And I said, let her go. And I said, no, you never let her go. You keep fighting. And we had all these arguments, and I just had a different view of death at that point. At that point, from when my dad died, I started seeing death in a different way, where they still didn't accept death. They were still trying to avoid it. And after my father passing away, coming to terms with the death of my father, basically like Superman dying, I realized that death is coming for all of us. And actually, death is not a bad thing. Death is part of your life. So from the moment you were born, from the first day that you were born, that happy moment where everyone's like, oh man, we got a new baby, that baby was sentenced to death. Now, is it going to be day one where the baby makes it only one day? Is it going to be 1 month? Is it going to be 3 months, a year, 10 years, 20, 30, 40, 50, 80, 90, 100? How long? How long are you going to last? You don't know. You can't avoid it. No matter how hard you try, you'll never be able to avoid death. No matter how much you work out, no matter how well you eat, no matter what doctors you see, no matter how much money you have, death is coming for all of us. So when I realized that, I said, man, I'm going to use death for my advantage. I'm not going to use death. I am not going to use death as something bad. I'm not going to use death as this evil thing. I'm going to flip it. I'm going to use it as good. And when you really dig into death, it's actually a great thing. Death is your best friend. As a matter of fact, guys, death is my best friend. I keep him very close to me, right next to me before I go to sleep, before I get in the car, before I get on the motorcycle, before I leave my house. I always think about death. Death is on my mind 24/7, as a matter of fact. Death makes me live my life. Death makes me hug my kids and my wife before I leave because maybe today is my last day. Death makes me be the best person I can be in everything that I do. When I go into work, I said, man, is today going to be my last day coaching? So let me be the best coach I can be. Let me give it my best. Let me push the limit. Let me leave an impression on all these people that trust me, that come to me for coaching, to learn from me, for me to guide them. Let me leave a lasting impression because today might be my last day. I hope it's not my last day, but it could be. When I spend time with my family, with my children, with my dogs, with my wife, man, I always force like my kids, guys, I have 5 kids. Like, man, guys, come give me a hug. Come give me a kiss. Like, oh, dad, you're so annoying. I don't care. I don't care to be annoying because I know whatever day it is could be my last day. Maybe today will be the last day I give them a hug. Maybe it won't be. Maybe tomorrow, maybe a month, maybe 20 years, maybe 50 years. I don't know when it's going to be. When is the last time I'm going to hug them? Or even on a deeper level, guys, even on a fucking deeper level, it could be their last day. Maybe it's not your last day. Maybe it's your child's last day. Maybe it's your wife's or husband's last day today. Maybe it's your mother's. Maybe it's your father's. Maybe it's your best friend's last day. You don't know that. They don't know that. See, people have this stupid notion that death only comes like, oh, if you didn't take care of yourself, you didn't do this, you didn't do that, then you get cancer, you get heart disease, and you're gonna die. Guys, how many days? Sorry, not days. How many times every single day do you hear of shit happening to people, man? Bro, the other day, there was 2 children hanging at the beach here in Fort Lauderdale. And they were digging a hole. or they were digging like a hole in the sand, and somehow the hole collapsed, and these two little children fell in there. Okay, and the sand went on top of them and killed one of them, and the other one's critical condition. I'm not sure if he lived or died. But think about it, guys. Like the parents went to the beach to hang with their kids. Beautiful day out, sunshine. The kids are digging a hole, like every kid should be doing, playing in the sand, making sandcastles. And the sand, for some reason, just in that spot where they were digging, ends up collapsing and taking their life. What did they do wrong? Were they going 120 miles an hour on a motorcycle? Were they gangbanging? Were they doing fentanyl? Were they skydiving? Were they jumping off cliffs? Were they driving without their seatbelt recklessly? What were they doing? They were doing nothing but just living their life. And something very bad happened. The children that go to school, right, who went to school at Douglas and freaking got shot and murdered for no rhyme or reason. Were they planning to go? Did they do something wrong? Did they have cancer? Did they have heart disease? Did they, people always tell me like, oh, you ride a motorcycle, that's dangerous. I'm like, motherfucker, living is dangerous. Living is dangerous. Not living is the biggest problem I have. Okay? So if you avoid not going to school because you're worried that maybe one kid's going to shoot you, if you avoid getting on an airplane because you're worried that maybe the plane's going to go down, if you avoid not riding a motorcycle because you think you're going to die in a motorcycle crash, if you avoid life, that is the problem. Avoiding life, man, because of death. So, guys, death is always on my mind. As a matter of fact, guys, I hold a coin in my wallet, and it has two sides. Both sides have a skeleton on it. And one side says, Memento Mori, which means remember that you will die. On the other side, it says, Memento Vivri, remember to live. Guys, I can't tell you how deep that is. And every day when I open my wallet, it's right in front, it's right in the front pocket, so I see it. I remember that. Guys, every time people see me, like, man, Yaniv, you're always smiling. Everywhere you are, you're always smiling. You're always happy. And I said, like, why? I said, man, because I woke up today, my friend. When you have that mindset that death is around the corner and that any day, at any time, at any moment, for no rhyme or reason, you or your loved ones can be gone, you fucking wake up with a smile, man. Your smile's big like mine. Huge. Because you know what's up. You have better relationships with people because you don't fucking take them for granted. You maximize your time. You don't sit around jerking off, killing time, spending time on stupid shit because you understand your time is limited. And you know that your time is counting down, guys. Your time is counting down. No matter what you do, your time is fucking counting down. So, with all that knowledge I just gave you, how are you going to use death to your advantage? Are you going to hide? Are you going to stay in shitty relationships, hoping, okay, that things are going to get better, but they just never get better? Are you going to stay in that miserable job that you can't fucking stand, thinking that things are going to get better, but they just don't get better? Are you ever going to start that business that you've been wanting to start? Are you ever going to ask that girl out? Are you ever going to have those children that you wanted to have? Are you ever going to live your life not in fear? Are you ever going to jump on that motorcycle? Are you ever going to jump on that motorcycle where you go and you explore the country and do what I do, man, live the fucking pirate life? Guys, this is powerful stuff, what I'm telling you. Most of you, probably 97% of you, will not do what I say. You'll still live your life in fear. You'll still live your life constantly worried about this or that. And guys, I'm not telling you to live recklessly. but I am telling you to live. I am telling you to make death your best friend. And as a matter of fact, guys, if you do that, if you make death your best friend, if you make death part of your life every single day, that one day when death comes knocking on your door, you won't be one of those people who's crying and crying and begging to stay alive a little bit longer. And you're gonna promise to make a change to death. You're gonna plead with him. You're gonna say, "Man, I'll change. I won't smoke anymore. I'll leave that bad relationship. Man, please, if you could just let me stay alive a little bit longer, I'll open up that business. I'll do everything I said I wanted to do." But death says, "Hey, my friend, I'm sorry. You had X amount of years to do what you wanted to do, but you chose to do otherwise. You had 40 years, you had 30 years, you had 20 years, you had 60 years, you had 80 years, and you still chose to waste your time. You spend hours and hours and hours just wasted. You slept your life away. You slept 10, 12, 14, even 16 hours a day. You spend your time on trifling things, thinking that death will never come to you. Hours and hours and hours on TV, hours and hours and hours on social media, hours and hours just wasting time, never making time count. Which brings to my favorite quote of all time: don't count time, make time count. If you make time count, man, you respect death. You understand that time is limited. But if you don't make time count, if you just fucking smoking weed, getting drunk, doing a whole bunch of fucking stupid ass shit, jerking off, watching porno all the time, never being productive, being part of a fucking shitty ass job or a shitty marriage or this and that, like never living life fully, never doing anything that you really want to do because you're fucking scared, you're already dead, my friend. You're already dead. No matter what goes on in the world, you're already dead. I know people, man, they just watch the news and they take it in. I remember when COVID happened, everybody, I won't say everybody, but the majority of people fucking froze. Man, they ran to get the vaccine. They wouldn't leave the house. Everywhere's a mask. And guys, you know what I do for a living is jujitsu, right? Like my main career is Brazilian jiu-jitsu, my school. And I was still fucking rolling. I was still doing everything I can. I was training. I was working out. I was living my life. And people said, "Man, are you crazy?" I said, "Hey, my friend, I'm not being reckless, but I'm not going to let death stop me from living." Guys, you're like, "Oh man, you need to wear your helmet when you ride your motorcycle. You must wear your fucking helmet or you're going to fucking die." Well, guess what, my friends? There's people who sit at the fucking light. They sit at the light in their car with their seatbelt, and then all of a sudden fucking get smashed from behind and they die. There's people who ride a motorcycle with no helmet and get hit and roll out of it and fucking don't die. There's people who ride a motorcycle, they wear a helmet, they wear the jacket, they wear the pants, they wear the boots, they wear everything, and they get hit and they die. Guys, you don't choose when you die. You don't choose, but you do choose when to live. You don't choose how you're going to die. Is it going to be from a heart attack? Is it going to be from cancer? Is it going to be from an accident? Don't choose. Guys, I had a almost near death experience about a year ago. Actually, 1 year ago, right now, in coming up in April. I was trimming a tree. I was trimming a tree like I always do. And for some reason, this time, when the branch fell down, I was 12 feet up in the air. When the branch fell down, it hit the floor, it bounced up and chopped my ladder down. And I fell from 12 feet into the concrete. I thought I broke my back. And the only reason I survived, I believe, for two things. One is my jujitsu training, where I broke my fall. I tucked my head and broke my fall. And the second one was God had grace on me. And if you want to say third, it wasn't my time. I've heard stories of people falling off of 6-foot ladders and dying, hitting their head and finishing. And all I could say to myself is when I fell, guys, I thought I was paralyzed because I couldn't move. I said, man, Yaniv, thank God you've lived a life, a full life, a meaningful life, a life worth fucking living. Because imagine, God forbid, something happened to me and I just ignored it. I just lived a fucking dead life. Like a life with no emotions, a life with no risk, a life with no experiences, a life just fucking dull, like medicated basically. So many motherfuckers just going through life like medicated, thinking that they're avoiding death, but really they're already dead. I knew a lady one time that I used to train. Her name was Mrs. Wiseman. When I trained her, she was 70 years old. And she said, Yaniv, before I met you, I've been dead for like 30, 40 years. She goes, I go to a job I hate and I come home and I just stay home. She had 2 kids who never came to visit her or cared about her. Her ex-husband was a piece of shit. So she was just alone. And she was so afraid because she got hurt from her ex-husband to love again that she never fell in love again. She never did anything. She just stayed home and ate and ate and ate, became huge and got sickly and got on all these medications and basically just sitting fucking around waiting to die. I came into her life, man, and I brought joy back. I got her walking again. I got her off medications. I got her living her life. I got her feeling alive again. You must understand, guys, you need to use death as your advantage, not as a disadvantage. Use death to jump on all the things that you're afraid to do because that's all you got, guys. That's all you have. If you avoid everything, you got nothing. What are you even fucking doing here? Think about it. If you avoid everything that makes you feel alive or that might be dangerous, right? Supposedly it's dangerous. What are you doing? Are you just waking up every morning to pay the bills, mow the lawn, run fucking errands, go to Publix, go to Costco, just going in the same bullshit, waiting for Sunday for the football game? Like, what are you doing with your life? Because anything worthwhile it's a fucking risky. Guys, I've had many surgeries, orthopedic surgeries. And it's funny because when I'm there, I have a good reason. They're like, oh, why are you here? I was like, man, I've been fighting, for fucking 30 years of my life. So something goes wrong after so many years, like I'm there for a good reason. I'm like, by the way, what are you here for? Like, oh, I went to take something out of the dishwasher and I threw out my bag and I blew out a disc. Or I slipped on a fucking banana and I twisted my ankle and now I got to have surgery on my ankle. Like, guys, you have to understand. We're all going to go through something. But at least when you go through something, you go through it living it your way. You go through it living a full life, a meaningful life, a life worth living, a life with passion. Yesterday, one of my prodigies, he asked me, he said, Sensei, he's like, what do you think about being a stoic man? I said, it has some benefits. I said, but to be honest with you, I think being completely stoic is garbage. He's like, oh, why? I said, because what's a life without any fucking emotions? Right? Because if you think about being stoic, you're not up or down. You're always fucking down the middle. So what's a life without emotions? When you score, when you're winning, you should fucking celebrate. You should have a fucking drink. You should do something fun. You should go and party. You should enjoy. Right? When you have a loss, right? You should be down that you have a loss. You shouldn't act like it doesn't mean anything because it does fucking mean something. Right? When you lose someone, you should fucking cry. You should be down and upset. Right? But you rise back up. No one ever told you to stay down, but you're allowed to have an emotions. Now, I'm not saying be arrogant or be extreme one way or another, go into a fucking depression or fucking over excessively get smashed and fucking destroy your life. I'm not saying that either. But a life is worth living Does come with emotions, does comes with ups and downs. And this brings me to the next thing is, I always say, man, like, in my house, we do Shabbat dinners. So, like, every Friday night, we do Shabbat dinner. And those of you that don't know Shabbat dinner, it's like basically like a Thanksgiving dinner every Friday night at my house. And it's a Jewish religious thing that we do on the Sabbath, to welcome in the Sabbath, where the women, they cook and they clean, they prep the house, and they prepare like a beautiful meal. And we set the table nice with a nice tablecloth and nice silverware, and we drink wine and we break bread, and usually we have guests, and it's a really nice time with the family. No electronics, nothing. And I tell people all the time, it's like sometimes I see people eating it with fucking paper plates. They'll chew their food really quick, and I go, you stupid motherfucker! The fuck you chewing your food so fast? This might be your last fucking meal. Or they're eating fucking like on fucking plastic, and just like quick and microwave meals. Like, guys, this goes all back to fucking death. This is your last fucking meal. You want it to be on a fucking piece of shit plastic piece of paper? You know what I mean? Freaking like, while you have this nice china sitting there waiting for some fucking holiday, you know what I mean, to come? No. I tell people every time, like, take out the china. Put on a nice shirt. Somebody's birthday, go celebrate. Valentine's Day, take your lady out. You had a win, book a fucking hotel, man. Go and party a little bit. Guys, what are you waiting for? Book the fucking trip. Like, do things to live your life. Do things to live your life. And that's how you avoid death, by living life. But by not living and just passing through time like you're going to be here forever, you're already dead. My friends, I hope I got my point across. Keep death close to you. Every single day, man, when you wake up, as soon as your feet hit the floor, say, God, thank you, God. Thank you, universe, for giving me one more day. Giving me the opportunity, the privilege to be here one more day. And with that day, my friends, do the best that you can. Be the best version of yourself. Love hard. Train hard. Celebrate hard. Have a fucking badass day. As I always say, guys, have a kick-ass day. Because when the day comes, you say to yourself, man, you know what? I've lived a full life. I lived a good life. I didn't hold anything back. I gave it my all. I did everything I wanted to do. I didn't work 24/7 thinking that, just stocking money, thinking that, only just thinking about retirement and only about the future. The money I made, I spent it, I used it. Guys, I tell my rich guys all the time, I said, guys, you can't take it with you. So spend it. Spend it. Buy yourself that steak dinner. Get yourself that fucking Lambo. Book that fucking trip. You worked fucking hard for it. Go enjoy it. Yeah? Guys, wish everyone a beautiful day, a kick-ass day, and don't forget to live, yeah? This is the only way you'll ever avoid death. Usa.